Instagram. We're here at the commissary. My name is Dr. Jennifer Watts, and we're going to do another installation of Bringing the Zoo to You. Since it's Bear Awareness Week, we decided it would be a great time to highlight our bear diets and the changes and differences that we make for all three of our species of bears. So we're going to start first actually with Hudson. So as you get panned out here, we'll see that this is Hudson's current diet. So what he gets is, this is 11 pounds of herring. This is actually a high-fat fish, so it provides a lot of calories for him. He also gets some regular dog food. This is about a pound of dog food that he gets per day. We also have, this is a complete meat diet. So it has all the vitamins and minerals that the animals need to make sure that they stay healthy. And he gets about 10 pounds of that. Each of these is 5 pounds. Every other day, he gets 2 of these bones. These are what we call knuckle bones, which are cow femurs that don't have any meat on them. They're shaved off. So actually, it doesn't provide a whole lot of calories, but it's really good for enrichment and keeping Hudson busy during the day. Now, what you wouldn't think a polar bear would eat is produce. But in the wild, the polar bears will eat produce during the summer, or eat vegetation during the summertime. And some zoos do use produce, some don't, but it's a good way for our animals to feel satiated without having to give them a lot of calories. You're going to hear that theme kind of throughout the day today. So he gets about 8 pounds of lettuce and another 4 pounds of carrots. He really, really likes these. It's very surprising, you would think. So part of the reason also that we have to do this is that in the wild, polar bears only eat occasionally. They have a very high-fat diet of seals, so they only need to eat every once in a while. But here, for our training purposes and management, it's really good for us to be able to feed them every day. Right now, all of this food plus a couple little extras, he's getting about 14,000 calories a day. Right now, because he's burning a lot of energy. This is the time of year where he starts to lose weight, and so we're trying to manage that so he doesn't lose too much weight at a time, and so he's getting a lot of calories. All right, moving down the table, we're coming up to Axie brown bear diet. So right now, we're in the part of the season where the bears have just come out of hibernation. Now here at Brookfield Zoo, they do not hibernate, but they go into a torpor. So it is kind of like a very sleepy time. They sleep about 23 hours a day, but they do, because of the noises of managing the polar bears in the building, they never completely go quite to sleep. They actually do wake up almost every day, but we don't force them to wake up. So they're in the period of the year that they would be eating mostly vegetation, some forbs and sedges, and maybe the occasional carcass or calf of something that may have been killed. So they only get a little bit of meat, about 3 pounds, but they get a lot of lettuce. So he's getting 12 pounds of lettuce, another 4 pounds of cucumber, and about a half a pound of dog food. You really wouldn't think this is a lot, and it's not. It's only about 4,000 calories. But that's what we need for them to help manage their weight as they're losing weight at this time of the year until they get to their lowest weight in the summer. Now in the summertime, if we pan over to our dolly over here, this actually shows Axie's maximum diet in August. This is actually a diet that is probably about 12 to 13,000 calories. You can see he gets 38 pounds of lettuce, another 3 pounds of a fruit or veggie, 12 pounds of cucumbers, and then he gets a lot more meat because the meat carcasses will still be fairly available at that time. We do increase the fish as we get to August because August is when the salmon spawn and they would be eating a lot of high-fat salmon. And we come back over here, and I want to tell you a little bit about the brown bears because they're kind of my pet project. When I first got here, they were getting the same diet every day. The amounts might change, but the proportions never changed. And that's really not natural for them. They do have changes in what they consume over the course of a year. And one of the problems with that is that they were becoming obese. So if we look at a graph of their weights this is from 1998 to 2006, you can see they're going up and down, but you see the trend is that they're going up and up and up. So after I made the seasonal diet changes, you can see we made a very significant difference. So this is their weights as of last week, but you can see they stay within a range now, and we're actually lowering the range to keep them healthy as they get older. We want them to be a little bit lighter with that. And the other thing you can see is that Jim, who's in the red, is always a little bit heavier than Axie. It usually runs about 40 pounds more than Axie. That is Jim's weight. And so then talking about the winter time, it would be really surprising to see that in the winter time, starting at about December, this ½ pound of chow is all the brown bears get to eat. Because they don't burn a lot of calories because they're sleeping all the time, but we still want to make sure that if they're hungry, they do get some food, that we give them the opportunity to eat some dog food if they should want to. Moving on to our third species of bear are our sloth bears. Now sloth bears are really cool because they are termite eaters. That is their main source of energy. So they have a very low metabolic rate and don't need a lot of food. So that's why you would think this is a very small amount for such a big bear. What we do is we give them, this is an Omnivore Chow, so it's a chow that's for animals that eat plants and animals, and they really like these. Every day they get some fruits. Most of the time, most of the days of the week, it's some avocado, and then tomorrow it's going to be some watermelon. And then a couple times a week they get lots of worms. So these are mealworms. They also get mighty mealworms, which are a lot bigger than these, and crickets. And those are really good to spread around the exhibit and have them catch them. One of the really cool artifacts of sloth bears is they're actually missing their front incisors so that they can actually put their nose into termite mounds. They can actually close their nostrils and then they suck. And because they're missing those incisors, the termites go straight through into their mouth. So that's a really cool adaptation that they've developed for eating the termites. One more station here. And this is the fun stuff that myself as a nutritionist cringes at, but you have to think the keepers have jobs to do. And some of those jobs maintain that the animals maintain their training, and they need to be motivated to do certain behaviors. So I have to compromise with them, and so we have lists of all the goody stuff that they're allowed to use, but very strict rules of how much and how often. So you'll see some really cool stuff here that surprise you, but believe me, we don't feed it all the time. One of the first things we try to give our bears is stuff to keep them busy. So another kind of bone, this is a smoked cow femur. One of the things that Hudson really likes to do is to slam this against the wall to get the marrow on the inside, because the marrow is the best part. We also do give them rawhides, the same kind of rawhides that you would get at PetSmart or Petco. They really like to dive for these and to gnaw on them during the day. One thing you wouldn't think so much that we want to use is lard. This is actually one of Nan's favorites, and it does really well with motivating her to take her medicine or to eat some food that she may not want to eat very well. She also is a big fan of tuna fish. It's another thing that we can hide her medicine in and have her do training behaviors for, because she really likes the tuna fish. As you see in the back here, we've got cereal. Cereal is really good for spreading it around the exhibit and let them forage for it and keep them active. We also use peanut butter. Peanut butter is also a good way to get them around their exhibit, because we can stick it all over the walls and they have to walk around and eat it. We sometimes spread honey around for our sloth bears. Honey is actually a natural diet item for sloth bears, so it is part of their wild diet. Same with our brown bears, if they were to break open honeycombs and get some of that good stuff in there so they get some honey. We also use some light corn syrup, which of course everybody loves because it's pure sugar, but we don't use very much of it. Last but not least, some people will probably remember that at Brookfield Zoo a long time ago, we used to allow people to feed our polar bears marshmallows. Well, we don't do that now, but marshmallows are still a great training tool to get the animals to do what we want them to do. We use it specifically for emergency training, so that when we have a severe weather emergency and we need to get the bears to come inside, if they know that they're going to get something really, really, really good, when they hear the air horn, they'll come running in. So lard and peanut butter and marshmallows are some of the items that we use for that emergency recall training as well. So that's what I have to talk about the bears, and I'm happy to take any questions that you guys might have.
Let's see, we had some up here. So how do you feed the bears? I mean, where do they eat? How is it given to them?
Some of the food is fed behind the scenes, and because they are large carnivores and we have to do protected contact, there's actually a chute that goes into their enclosure, so the keepers can put the food into the chute, it goes onto the floor, and the bears eat from there. But that's only a part of their diet. The rest of their diet is spread out throughout the rest of the day. It's either put on exhibit before the bears are let out, or sometimes some of these diet items are actually thrown off the roof or used in timed feeders to keep the bears active and thinking about what's going on in their exhibit.
Do you have to chop up the vegetables?
Sometimes, but not really. It's kind of fun to watch. The bears will take the heads of lettuce and just bite right into them, and they'll just devour them. And I have seen them actually, when we give them corn, it's really funny that this big 700-pound bear will eat just the kernels off of the cob.
Is there any competition when the bears eat together?
The only bears that we have together right now are our brown bears. When we have other bears together like Hudson and Nan or Kartik and Hani, we do most of their feeding behind the scenes when they're separated. We'll put some food out on exhibit that may not be a high priority or something that might be fought over, and if we try to put as much on there and spread it around so everybody can get some. For the brown boys, what we do is, like I said before, we feed them while they're separated. We put some lower value items on the exhibit. And then with Axie and Jim is a little bit more dominant than Axie. So what we do is we actually let Axie out first, let him find his spot where he wants to eat, and then we let Jim out so that there isn't any fighting.
How much total food do you go through in a week for the bears?
Depends on the time of year. Like I said, in the winter time, we don't go through very much for the brown bears. We go through a little bit more for the polar bears. So I would say probably for a week, we might do about 300 or 400 pounds. But during August, when the bears are getting a lot of food, we probably go through about 600 pounds of food a week just for our bears.
Do Jim and Axie have different favorite foods?
That's a really good question. One of the things that they both really like is a product that we make here in-house is called Omnivore, where we mix that meat diet with ground up dog chow and mixed vegetables, and they really like that, and that's something that we use a lot for training. But like most bears, and especially brown bears that are omnivorous and will eat just about anything, they like peanut butter, they like the lard, they like, all the stuff that they really shouldn't like. I asked the lead keeper this morning about that, and I was hoping to hear that they liked some of their diet items, but she gave me all of the extra stuff that they liked instead.
Let's see, what else? What is the most surprising food that a bear would eat?
Oh, that they would eat? Well, brown bears will, as they're trying to fatten up in the late summer, early fall, will eat a lot of nuts. and that's something that you wouldn't think. They eat pine nuts and other nuts that they find. I mean, and that's really something very small for them to manipulate and eat, but they really seek those out. They'll also eat some fungi, so some mushrooms that around, and they know which ones are good and which ones aren't. And also berries. They like a lot of berries. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us today and learning about our bear diet.